What I want to cover today is a common misconception that I have spoken to, I want to say dozens, if not hundreds of people. Online coaches, creators, consultants, agencies, growth operators, everyone all thinks this one thing needs to be true in order for them to be successful online, but it's really not. And I want to break that belief for you today. And that belief is that you need tons of views and you need a ton of traffic and followers in order to create wealth and create a real business online in 2026. That is absolutely not true, and I'm going to break down how we're actually able to do that. Now, looking at my account really quickly, you can see that as of the time I'm filming this right now, I have literally less than 1,000 followers, right? Less than 1,000 followers, 66 posts on the main grid, an optimized bio, a decent profile picture. I'm probably going to change it, to be honest with you. You see, I actually buzzed my head, so maybe I'll just use my buzzed head in my profile picture. But with this small following, I've been able to generate a six-figure income, a six-figure business for myself with literally 90% profit margins. Barely anything am I actually expending on budgets, on software, on expenses, whatever it is. And I'm able to do this all profit. Now, the question is, how am I able to do this? And how am I able to do it consistently in a world that keeps thinking that followers is the definition of success or wealth in 2026? And the answer is, I've been able to crack the code in terms of not generating views, but generating the right views, right? And so, in a sense, views, I guess, do matter. But the matter of fact is that you only care about the views that might actually turn into dollars. Now, I will continue to expand upon this idea throughout the entire video, but I wanted to start with this initial assumption that views do matter, but the right views are the ones that matter, okay? And so going viral is great, but only if you go viral for the right reasons. So you take everything with a grain of salt. Now, you might be thinking, great, Kai, like you've done this for yourself. How have you been able to scale it and do it for others, right? Because effectively, that's my entire business, turning content and applying a systematized sales system to actually generate conversions and create wealth, revenue, income on the other side. And that's exactly what I want to break down for you. So this is just one of my clients that we just onboarded just about a month ago. His name is Christian. He has literally 40 followers, okay? When we just first joined, he had never posted content before, okay? He just joined, 18 posts in, 40 followers, following 16 people, a relatively optimized bio, and a decent profile picture, just like mine, right? Literally 3 weeks in to his journey, he just got his first client and completed his first sales call. Literally 3 weeks. He had never posted content before. He had never taken a sales call before. He had never taken clients. He had never even coached before, okay? He just knew that he had an experience, he had an expertise, he had knowledge of calisthenics in his example as a college athlete, and knew exactly how to get results for people. With that expertise, all he needed to do was to apply the correct content funnel, the correct strategies to his marketing, and apply a good sales process. And it didn't matter how many followers he had. That person bought because of who he was, the systems he had in place, and the psychological triggers that we were able to appeal to before the person even got on the phone call. And I'm going to show you exactly how or what I mean by that, right? And you can see literally 3 weeks into his journey, we got him results like this, right? 28.4K. Now, by no means is this crazy viral, but this was enough traction to actually get him some traffic to his page to turn into a conversion down the road, okay? And so I want to show you this because he was able to generate this result and close one client from it, right? However, my videos on average do results like these, and I'm able to generate over 10K every single month. How am I able to do this, right? But it's just like I said, it's about generating the right views. Not all of the views, the right ones, okay? And I want to use a simple analogy in a second to explain this, okay? But first, I want to talk about how I'm able to generate those correct views, okay? How am I not just dancing in front of a camera and trying to get as many people to like, comment, and follow as possible? The reason is messaging, and to understand messaging, you need to first understand what your ICP is, or who you are speaking to in your content, okay? And for me, or for you most likely, is the person that you're speaking to is the person you want to buy from you, okay? And so understand that the goal is to define what a qualified client means, not just your average follower, okay? We don't care about that. What we care about are the qualified client's goals, their frustration, their beliefs about fitness, for example, in Christian's case. What do they already know? What do they need to unlearn? What limiting beliefs do you need to break before they can understand how they can be helped? Okay. Beyond that, what stage are they in? Understand where they are in their journey. What problems do they have? The hidden problems that you reveal through your content, or try to understand their problems and then dig a layer deeper. What's their emotional driver? Because people don't just buy through logistics, okay? They buy through emotion, sometimes impulse, right? And people's buying lines are everywhere, right? If this is a buying line, someone can buy, down the line, 6 months down the road. Sometimes they'll buy even further, 1 month down the road. Sometimes they're dead right in the middle. They need time to process, okay? But it's understanding this cycle, understanding that how long it takes and how long or how much content you need to create to drive this emotional driver to get a sale as quick as possible is how you're going to actually get results and see conversions based on your content. So understanding the ICP, once you do that, I take a reverse engineering approach to my messaging. Messaging really just means what I say in order to invoke some sort of emotion or trigger some behavior in my audience, okay? Now, messaging, what I mean by reverse engineering is I want to look at exactly what I don't want, look at everything that results in something I don't want, and then flip it on its head, okay? So for example, if I don't want an unqualified lead, right? I want to look at what an unqualified lead looks like in terms of beliefs, conditions, values, and circumstances, okay? The same things that we assess for our ICP, but do it for the reverse of that, something you don't want. Now understand, once you have that, understand how are these expressed in their actions, right, of the unqualified lead. How are these expressed in their words? How are they expressed in their thoughts or mindset? Once you can have a crack at that, once you understand that deeply, then you can see how these are expressed in your current content and messaging. Okay, if you recognize any congruency, any patterns between any of these and your end product content, then you need to start realizing that, hey, I need to actually flip my content on its head and start thinking about what I need to say instead in order to generate a qualified lead. So to give a concrete example of this, right, if I know that my unqualified leads have zero buying power, okay, their conditions are that they're broke, they have no money, right, that's the person I don't want. How is this expressed in the words that I use? Am I using the word broke? Am I using the words 0 to 100? Am I using the words if you are making no money, right, no money? That means that I need to understand that, hey, this is going to attract the people that actually have no money, the people that are broke, the people that are wanting my lifestyle, or the people that want a better life for themselves. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I want to understand that if that's not the people that I want to sell to, then that's not the words I should be using. Okay? And so understanding this is going to impact so much of how you can create good messaging and good content throughout your funnel. Now, once you have created a good understanding of messaging, and once your content is starting to reflect that, you need to start recognizing how to audit, understand which pieces of content are generating you leads, and then doubling down on that format, okay? Once you recognize what pieces of messaging work, you need to analyze your analytics. Understand the number of views is important, but only for the right reasons. Like I mentioned, how many of these are actually turning into qualified leads? How many of those leads are actually turning into conversions, okay? Now, most of the time, you'll actually recognize that most of the success you're seeing is from the content that gets you the most saves and the most shares, and oftentimes the most comments. I'll include that too, because that means, a heavier commitment to interaction. Someone who's actually willing to interact with the post in order to learn more. Someone who's trying to comment a keyword. Someone who's trying to share it with their friends, okay? We don't care much about the likes and interactions. We care less about the likes just because it doesn't really exhibit a ton of commitment. That being said, a follow is probably the holy grail in terms of what you want to outreach to, okay? Now, if there were 2 metrics or 3 metrics that you want to focus on, these are going to be the ones that will actually turn you into conversions and the people you want to outreach, okay? Now, to end this video off, I kind of wanted to circle back to what I was talking about in terms of the analogy that I like to use when searching for the right views, okay? So I want to start off by explaining this as your market, okay, the people that you want to sell to. Oftentimes that's on social media, on the internet, wherever it is. You can think of it like an ocean or a pond, okay? Think of it more like a pond or a lake. This is my lake, for example, not a cloud. Now, you can think of it as you want to go fishing for your clients, right? Now, most of your clients are going to find themselves resonating with a certain niche, right? Resonating with a certain set of values, a certain set of principles or interests, behaviors, hobbies that you want to sell to, okay? And that's understanding your ICP, right? That reflects back here. And so these people are the optimized people that you actually want to go for. That being said, you might have outliers. You might have people over here and over here and over here who have differing interests, right, and less priorities, but they're not all grouped together because they're outliers. They're drifting away from the norm in terms of what your ICP is, okay? Now, what this first person is optimizing for virality. They're optimizing for the most number of views, follows, comments, interactions as possible. Okay, they're dancing on camera. They don't care about the messaging. They just care about what's trendy, right? And by doing that, they're throwing a huge net out into the lake. That is the market, okay? They're reaching all the other potential clients, the other potential fish, right? But they're not. Those are the people that don't really resonate with your ICP. They don't resonate with who you are or what you're offering. And so there's no point in even casting your net that way, regardless of how big it is, because you're only going to capture a couple of leads or a couple of conversions versus what I do, right? I use very targeted marketing, very targeted niche down messaging. By doing that and then fueling the fire with paid advertisements, I'm able to cast a much smaller net but in the correct areas of the market. I'm able to cast a very small net that targets my ICP, targets the people that might actually buy from me. And despite my net being significantly smaller from those that go viral, I'm the one that captures the most number of leads, the most number of conversions, and the most number of quality clients. Okay? And once you can understand that, then I start fueling the fire with paid ads, like I mentioned. And this is what that looks like. You start casting very targeted nets all over the place. Paid advertisements allow me to do this, right? I just keep on casting nets on nets on nets on nets until I have encompassed the entire area of my pond that I care for in order to generate conversions, right? And of course, I can keep casting nets out here and out here and out here as I continue to scale. But can you imagine not having any idea as to which area of the pond your fish is in and then trying to cast more nets? You're pouring fuel on a dead fire, right? Although it might have gone viral, right? You might be throwing a net over here, even bigger. But because you have no idea what works, you have no idea what messaging works, you have no idea how to speak to your ICP, you have absolutely no idea if that's going to generate you conversions. And so the biggest takeaway I want you to have from this video is that to generate results just like this, you need to focus more on what you say and who you say it to than your follower count, than your view count. Okay? Only then can you really think about running paid ads. But before you do that, understand messaging. Understand what it means to cast a net in your niche, cast a net in your market. Understand the sizing of the nets and how you can actually reach more people with a smaller net because it's focused, because you have an understanding of who you're speaking to. I hope this is useful. I hope you can reach out to me with any more questions you have. Comment them down below or reach out to me on Instagram. Let me know what else to film. Let me know what you think about the haircut. And I'll see you guys in the next one.